Friends, I welcome you all to our today's session. Let us continue our discussion on the concept of supply, which we have initiated in our previous class. So, in fact, now we are learning various provisions of GST law. When you're referring to GST law, you know various GST acts are there. Each state has its own act. GST act is there, and but the act we are referring to most of them. We are generally we refer to the this thing our central act. Okay, CGST Act will be referring to, so the definitions, etc., that we are referring to, uh, or that we are studying, these are with reference to your CGST Act. Okay, and earlier I had also shown you where to search that CGST Act. You can go to our GST website or CBIC website. You can download the GST Act, and all the acts are there. You can refer to CGST Act. Should I show you again? If you want to see, just give me a moment. I will show you what is the source of this law. Give me a moment for that. Yeah, now you are seeing this Google browser. You know the GST website address? Who can tell me? gst.gov.in, you can visit. Here you can see GST law. You can go there. GST law, you see, these are various acts for different state governments. Okay, you can refer to the act of any particular government. You can go there, click here, you can find it. Okay, and this is the link for Central Act. It will carry you to the website of Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. There you can find the detailed law. So if you go there, let's say CBIC, you click here, and you proceed to their website. If you find this is the website of Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. Here, if you click under GST, you can find out, you see, books, acts, laws, etc. All these things are there. You see, CGST Act is here. You can amended up to 31st August 2021. If you want, you can download here. So let me download it for you. Now you see, this act is here. Okay, and we are learning various definitions right now. If you have a look at this act, you see Chapter 1 preliminary talks about these sections, short title, extent, and commencement. This act may be called as Central Goods and Services Tax Act 2017. It extends to whole of India. All these things you know. And the definitions are there in section 2, as usual. Right, you see various definitions are there. Now we are interested in the definition of supply. But before that, few other definitions we need to learn. Some of them we have learned in our previous class. For example, the definition of business, which is there under section 2, clause 17. This is important for us because one of the concepts is that the supply has to be connected with the business. There has to be some nexus with the business. It should be for, you can say, it should be in the context of furtherance of business. So therefore, we need to understand what is the meaning of business. And few other terms are also important for us. Okay, here is a concept of composite supply. We'll be learning that thing. That is also important. Yeah, this particular definition is also important. Section 2, clause 31 talks about, can you read what is written here? What is the term? Section 2, clause 31.
Consideration.
Consideration. Yeah, the consideration is also important because that is one more important element of suppliers. In any supply, there has to be normally subject to certain exception. There has to be consideration. So we need to know. One thing I told you, supplier has to have some kind of connection with the business. Therefore, we need to understand the term business also. Supply can be composite supply. And this consideration element is also important. So therefore, we'll be learning what is the definition of consideration. Okay, what is continuous supply of goods? That is also important. So like this, So if you look at this section, various terms are there which are connected to the term supply. Okay, here is you see a concept of composite supply you were seen earlier. Here is a concept of mixed supply. This is also one important element that we'll be learning after having understood what is supply. We'll be seeing what is composite supply, what is mixed supply. And this is, you see, one more definition I'm showing. Section 284. Section 284 defines what? Can you read it here? It defines what is the term? Are you able to read?
Persons, sir.
Persons. Okay, it defines persons. So persons are also important. Okay, so the definition of person you must have studied under income tax law. Yes or no? Have you studied or not? Have you studied? When you studied income tax law, you must have understood what is the meaning of person, right? Yes or no? Who can tell me what is the meaning of person under income tax law? How many categories of persons are there under income tax law? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me the examples? Okay, have you studied it? Yes or no? Please respond quickly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you tell me who are the persons under income tax law?
Sir, all the individuals, the Hindu undivided families,
Okay, good.
and sir, the companies,
Okay,
the local authorities,
okay.
and all that.
Yeah, so well, friends, when you studied income tax law, you must have understood there are 7 categories of person. Of course, it is an inclusive definition. Here under income tax law as well as under GST law. So under income tax law, you must have seen 7 category of persons are there, which includes that is individuals, HUF, then farm under income tax law includes LLPs also, farms and LLPs you can say, then companies. Okay, this is 4. Then AOP and BOI, that is association of persons or body of individuals. 5. Then 6th is local authority, that is one more category of person. And the 7th one is artificial juridical person. So these are the 7 category of person you must have studied under income tax law, right? And that is GST law. Coming to GST law, the persons, again here is an inclusive definition, but categorically they have included 13 category of persons. How many? How many I told? 14, 1 4. Okay, so let us see who are these persons. Just have a look at. Once again, I'm sharing the act itself. Just a minute. Yeah, you see. Can you read it here? Some of you please read it. Person includes
an individual,
okay.
a Hindu undivided family, a company, a firm,
Yeah.
a limited liability partnership, an association of person or a body of individual, whether incorporated or not in India or outside India. Any corporation established by or under any central act, state act, or provisional act, or a government companies as defined in clause 45 of section 2 of the Companies Act 2013.
Next.
A body corporate incorporated by or under any law of the country outside India. A cooperative society registered under any law related to cooperative societies. A local authority, central government or a state government. Security as defined under the Securities Registration Act 1860. Trust.
Society defined under Societies Registration Act 1860. Then
Trust.
trust
and every artificial judicial person not following, not falling within any of the
any
above.
of the ever. Thank you.
Above.
Yeah, that's it. Now that this is next is another definition. This is clause 85. Okay, clause 84 we are referring to. Now can you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this page? And the previous page, if you see, these are persons are there. Here is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So how many category of persons are there?
14.
14. You see, GST law has included, or you can say, given the detailed inclusion of various category of persons. Okay. For example, on income tax law, farm includes LLP. You see, farm is included, LLPs are also included separately. So this is the meaning of person. This definition is also important. We'll be learning this thing. And few more definition. Let me tell you. Yeah, supplier has been defined here. But before that, we need to know what is the meaning of supply. Then only we'll be seeing what is the meaning of supplier. Okay, supplier, you see, it has been defined here. Okay. And to understand the meaning of supply, exactly, you have to go to section 7. But before that, these are few other key definitions we are looking into. Yeah. So I think now you are having some idea that if you want to refer a particular section in the law, then you can go to GST website and you can download the provisions, right, which will help you to understand the law. Now, friends, earlier we had already discussed. Let me share the screen with you right now. So earlier we already know under GST law, what is the taxable event? The taxable event is the supply. That means only when there is a supply, there is a possibility of levying GST on it. And the supply can be for goods or for services or for both. Okay, the entire value of the supply is taxed in an integrated manner that we had already discussed earlier. And these are some definitions which also were discussed. And this is one of the very important definitions, is the definition of goods, because the GST includes goods as well as services. First, coming to the definition of the goods, which is defined under section 2, clause 52 of the CGST Act. Goods means every kind of movable property other than money and securities, which you have already know. Goods includes movable property. That means immovable properties are not goods. And money and securities are also not goods. Goods also includes actionable claims, growing crops, grass, and other things attached to or forming a part of land, which are agreed to be served before supply or under a contract of supply. If something might be forming a part of land or something is attached to the land, but this can be served, this can be supplied under the contract of supply, they are also goods. Goods includes actionable claims. Okay, and there is some other place where goods are also defined. For example, Article 366 of the Constitution also defines goods. Goods includes all materials, commodities, and articles. And you have already seen goods includes this thing, actionable claim. And what is actionable claim? We have discussed in the previous class. Okay, if you read the definition here, you have to read it along with section 3 of Transport Property Act. Right, actionable claim is defined under section 2(1) of GST Act, but that has to be read with section 3 of TPA, that is Transport Property Act 1882. Actionable claim is a claim or debt other than the debt secured by mortgage. So if the debt or claim is secured by mortgage, then that is not an actionable claim. Right. So other than a debt which is secured by mortgage of immovable property or hypothecation or place of immovable property or any other beneficial interest in the immovable property, not in possession either actual or constructive of the claimant. Okay, so this is, you can say actionable claim is basically a claim or debt, which claim or debt and the two which is unsecured. Okay, if it is secured, it may not form a part of actionable claim, which the civil courts recognize as affording grounds of relief, whether such debt or beneficial interest be existent, accruing, or conditional or contingent. In the previous class, I had explained you all these things in detail. I'll give you an example. Suppose an insurance policy is there which is not secure. It is maybe a claim. So that can be considered an example of actionable claim. Okay, maybe share in partnership farm, that can be an actionable claim. So these are few examples of actionable claim you can take. Okay. And goods includes these actionable claims. Now coming to the definition of services, which is again one more important thing related to the supply, means anything other than goods, money, and securities, but includes activities relating to use of money. Money is not goods or services, but something relating to the use of money, then it is services. So services includes activity relating to the use of money or its conversion by cash or by any other mode from one currency or denomination to another form, right? So from one form to another form, currency is converted. Okay, from one form of currency to another form of currency, for which is separate consideration is charged. So consideration is charged, then that is services. Okay, this thing we have discussed. Then principal also we have discussed, because supply can be made by the principal or made by the agent. What is the meaning of competent authority we have discussed, meaning of family discussed. Yeah, this is one more important definition we have studied earlier, but let us recapitulate that thing. This is the definition of business. Okay, so if you see, business includes all these things. Okay, trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, adventure, wager, or other similar activity, whether or not it's for a pecuniary benefit. That means whether there is a financial benefit or not, still all these activities are business. Activity or transaction in connection to or incidental or ancillary to the above clause. So any ancillary activities relating to trade, commerce, manufacture, profession, vocation, etc. They are also business. Any activity or transaction in the nature of clause A, whether or not there is a volume, frequency, continuity, or regularity. So even if transaction is done at a very irregular manner or a very continuous manner, and not done in a very continuous manner, maybe one or two transactions have been done, but still that can be regarded as a trade or business. Supply or acquisition of goods, including capital goods and services, they are also business. Provision by club, association, society, or any such body for of some facilities or benefit to its members, that is also business. Okay, for a subscription or for certain consideration, that's also business. Admission for a consideration of persons in any premises. Suppose it can be a movie hall, can be exhibition hall, where admission is allowed with the consideration, that is with some payments, and that is also business. Services supplied by a person as the holder of an office, which has been accepted by him in the course of or furtherance of his trade, profession, or vocation, that is also business. So suppose someone is holding an office, it may be a public office also. Let us say holding a public post, and in that connection he is supplied something, and that is connected to his trade, profession, or vocation, then that is also business. Okay, so it should be in the course or furtherance of trade, profession, or vocation. Services provided by a race club by way of totalizer or a license to book marker in such club. So these totalizer services or bookmarking services are also business. Okay, totalizer is in fact it's a device or it is services which is provided through this device, which finds out that how much money is collected and how this money after charging something, some charges, taxes, etc. Remaining money, how it is to be distributed to various participants, to various stakeholders. That is done by this totalizer, and the service is called as totalizing service. Any activity or transaction undertaken by central government, state government, or any local authority in which they are engaged in public authority, in which they are engaged as public authorities. So these activities of central government, state government, local authorities, if they are engaged as public authorities, can also be considered as business. So this shows the definition of business is very wide. This particular chart explains all these things. You can go through it. Later on, you can pause the recorded video and go through it, that how business includes so many things. Okay, it's an exclusive definition. The meaning of definition is very wide. Governments means central government, we know. Local authority, we have discussed in our earlier classes that this is the meaning of local authority. Panchayat, municipality, municipal committees, all of them are local authorities. Yeah, constitutions, as I told you earlier also. Today also I told you, this is again one of the very important definition relating to supply. Right? In relation to supply of goods or services, it includes any payment made or to be made. So payments made, that is consideration. Payment which are to be made, that is also consideration. And it can be in money or any otherwise also. It can be money or it can be in non-monetary form also. And this payment has to be made in response to or for inducement of the supply of goods or services. So in response to that supply or for inducement of that supply, this money has to be made. And one more thing, it says, if you read the definition, it says whether by recipient or any other person. So money, it is not necessary that money has to be paid by a recipient only. It can be paid by third parties. That is also constitution. But shall not include any subsidy given by the central government or state government. Central government, state government subsidy is given, that is not constitution. Otherwise, if some other, let us say body or some other entity is giving some subsidy, that's a consideration. It also includes monetary value of any act, forbearance in respect of, monetary value of any act. Suppose money is not given, but some act or some services or something has been provided for, then that monetary value of that service is called as consideration. Or forbearance. Forbearance means you can say refraining something or not doing something. The monetary value of that activity of not doing, that can also be treated as consideration. Okay, monetary value of any act, forbearance in respect of, in response to, or for the inducement of any inducement of the supply of goods or services, or both, whether by the recipient or any other person, but shall not include any subsidy given by the central government, state government. So one thing is clear, that if any subsidy is given by central government and state government, that will not form a part of constitution. Okay, and I was also explaining in our previous class, deposits, whether that will be considered as consideration or not. Suppose one recipient of services or recipient of goods has deposited some money. It will not be considered as consideration unless the supplier applies that deposit as consideration. Okay, suppose you are going to purchase something from a supplier and you have deposited some money with him. The deposit is not consideration for him, but if he applies that deposit for consideration, then that will become consideration. Okay, so that is what this provision says. If you see, a deposit given in respect of supply of goods or services or both shall not be considered as payment made for the supply unless the supplier applies as deposited consideration for the said supply. A supplier applies that, supplier considers this part of deposit is a consideration for the supply, then immediately that becomes a consideration. Till that time, it is kept as deposit. Okay, the meaning of agent, we have learned it earlier. Manufacturer definition also you have seen. The meaning of money also you have seen. Now this is important for us. What is taxable supply? As you know, the charging event is supply. Okay, GST is leviable only when there is supply. When there is a taxable supply, means supply of goods and services are both, which is leviable tax under this act. So there are certain supplies which are not leviable to tax. We'll be learning those things. When we talk about taxable supply, it means on which GST is levied. Taxable territory means the territory to which the provision of this tax applies. Okay, now this definition which you have seen today, that's the definition of persons which is provided in section 2 clause 84. You can once again go through, just have a look at the list of 14 items which you have already studied, like individual, HUF, company, farm, LLP, AOP, BOI, corporations of central government, state government, etc. Body corporate, incorporated, any law outside India, cooperative society, local authority, central government, state government, society, trust, and AJP. All these are persons. Do you have any doubt on this? If you have any query or doubt, please let me know. Hope there is no query. Now again, you can look at this picture. Here also, all these 14 components of their inclusive definition is provided. And you know, when the definition says like this, the definition, inclusive definition, or definition starts with person includes. That means there might be other category of person which are not included here. This is an illustrative list. Therefore, the definition starts with person includes. But if you look at the other definition, like that earlier I had shown you the definition of goods. It says goods means. That means that is an exhaustive definition. Goods means exactly the same thing. But this is an inclusive definition. You can see person includes. And have a look at this picture. It will give you the broad idea that what are the things that are included in the definition of persons. Well, friends, now this is one more term which is very relevant in the context of supply. Okay, this is the definition of recipient. The recipient, what comes to your mind is that person who is receiving the goods or receiving the services can be called as recipient. This definition says recipient of supply of goods or services are both means. When I say means, this means this is an exhaustive definition. It means A, where consideration is payable by supply of goods or services are both the person who is liable to pay. Okay, look at this definition one by one. We'll try to analyze all these things. Okay, you know, this means A. One of you please read the first part, this A, which I read just now. Recipient of supply of goods means A. Can you read it? Some of you please read it out.
Where a consideration is payable for the supply of goods and services or both, the person who is liable to pay that consideration.
Now, wait a minute. Many times what happens when you supply something, consideration is payable. Is it not? Let us say you are a supplier. You have supplied something to a customer. Who will pay it? Customer will pay. Is it not? Is it not? Sometimes what happens, somebody pays, but goods are delivered elsewhere. There also, the person who is liable to pay, he is the recipient. Right? When consideration is payable, When consideration is payable, the person who is liable to pay, he is the recipient. Okay. Are you getting? Yes or no? Now you tell me. Suppose your name is A, right? You have purchased something. Let us say you are doing some, you are making some online purchase. Let us say, assume it is for Amazon or whatever. So you have placed an order, and this will be supplied to B. Okay. So who will be paying money? You place the order with Amazon, and goods will be supplied to B. In this example, who is the recipient?
B.
B. Yeah, that is what this definition says. Okay, because in this situation, consideration is payable. If it is payable, oh, sorry, what you told. So once again, I'll show you. You read it once again. When consideration is payable for supply of goods, person who is liable to pay. Your answer was B, right? But whether B is liable to pay. If it is on cash on delivery, then B is liable to pay. But otherwise, let us say you are giving a gift to B. So you placed an order with Amazon. So it will be delivered to B. So who is liable to pay? Who is liable to pay? Are you getting my question? Yes or no? Okay, now